The best of Money Matters. The Hot Seat.
Welcome to The Hot Seat, a debate segment where ideas clash and insights spark. I'm your host, Hongbin Jeong. Mental health has become an increasingly important topic in Singapore, with society making it almost mandatory to factor in the mental well-being of individuals in everything that we do. Therapy seems to be a right step in the direction when we look at self-healing journeys. But when it comes to improving mental health, the question remains, is therapy the only way, or are there other effective alternatives? Well, before we hear from our guests and dive deeper into this debate, here's a disclaimer. The views and arguments presented by our interviewees do not necessarily reflect their personal beliefs or opinions. Instead, they are here to provide a fresh perspective on the topic at hand. Well, joining us today is Yuyun Tan, who is the founder of Inside Out Counselling Wellness Practice, and she'll be telling us why therapy could very well be the only way to improve mental health. And we also have Ansel Feng, who is a fitness coach who will be trying his best to help us understand that there are alternative solutions available besides therapy. Welcome to the hot seat, both. Thank you so much for joining me. All right. Well, mental health is a complex topic in general. So let's start off with something simple. I have a question for both of you. Based on your own experiences, what do you think of the current approach that Singapore is taking towards mental health? Maybe we can start with you, Yuyun.
So mental health really exists on a bit of a spectrum, and everyone's experience can be very different, as poor mental health arise from a multitude of different factors, including genetic influences and all that. So I think at this point in time, in terms of the approach in Singapore, there seems to be a very holistic approach where the government is really trying to encourage physical activities as well as mental well-being amongst the population at this point.
And so what are your thoughts?
I do agree with her as well, because I realize that right now there's a bit more awareness about mental health issues. So especially if you are taking the public transport, there's a bit more advertisement and helplines regarding mental health issues as well. And also there's more accessible healthcare and medication regarding mental health issues. So I think that is going pretty well.
Well, there's a lot of differing opinions online about how one should go about taking care of their mental health, and it's all different for each individual. But working out and going to the gym is what has been deemed as a popular method. So, Yuyun, physical activities such as exercise have been scientifically proven to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression. And as you mentioned earlier, Singapore is taking steps to encourage people to go out and exercise for their mental well-being. So if that's the case, why should therapy still be prioritized as a solution to improving mental health?
Okay, good question. So while activities like exercise may help to reduce symptoms, these activities may not address why symptoms are happening. And therapy goes beyond the surface level coping and explores underlying causes of mental health concerns, which could include cognitive distortions, it could be unhealthy relationship patterns, it could be attachment styles, or it could simply be developmental trauma or trauma in itself as well. So without identifying these patterns and attempting to treat the core root, the symptoms may keep returning and recurring as well. So what we may actually be doing instead is putting a band-aid on the wound. And what we may be doing actually is putting a band-aid on the wound, and that isn't necessarily all bad, because for some people maybe that's enough. You know, psychologically maybe that could be just enough for some people as well.
Right. Yeah. Well, taking into account what Yuyun has just said, Ansel, how do you address the root causes of mental health issues like trauma or anxiety with physical exercise? Like, how can working out help you understand your emotional and mental well-being?
I will say that exercise can be a useful intervention in addressing those issues, but usually in mild and moderate symptoms. So if the symptom is too severe, so I will still recommend them to get it checked out first and seek professional help. So the benefit for exercise to address these symptoms, it will be also stress relieving. You also induce feel-good hormones like endorphins. So for the patients, when they are exercising, they are working out, they feel better, they feel more confident. And also there's also social factors when they are exercising. So usually for patients who are struggling with mental health issues, they can often be pretty isolated, a bit more withdrawn from the society. So when they are exercising, they have companions, there are people in that environment to talk to them, interact with them, so they feel a bit better emotionally. So I would say that these are the factors that will help a lot, addressing those issues.
Now, therapy is all about verbalizing your feelings, ensuring you can rationalize your thoughts and present it in a constructive manner. Yuyun, still, how can sitting in a room talking about our problems be more effective than, taking action through movement and lifestyle changes, as Ansel has pointed out there?
Now, that can be a very loaded question as well, because it's like saying, I want to be rich, but then what am I prepared to do to actually get rich?
Okay.
Right? So I think if only sitting in a room to talk about our problems can solve all our problems, I think that would be a perfect solution as well.
Right.
I think the statement in itself may oversimplify what therapy really means, because therapy is very grounded in decades of clinical research and psychological science as well. And as practitioners, we train and are grounded in evidence-based modalities like CBT, DBT, ACT, EMDR, and stuff like that. And on top of that, practitioners further refine our practice by undertaking years of personal and clinical supervision to prevent our own biases from impacting the client. So we undertake a lot of personal and clinical supervision to prevent our own biases from influencing the client, and to also get the client to thrive in his own way, not how we want the client to thrive, but how to help the client thrive in his own way. So a lot of things does happen in a therapy session where the clients are not just talking about their problems, they are being guided through techniques to unpack their problems, to understand their patterns contributing to their triggers as well, and to understand those patterns contributing to those triggers in a very emotionally safe manner. So therapy really does offers a non-judgmental space where you can pace yourself in confronting pain and wounds and make meaning. And sometimes that's where transformation takes place. Transformation can take place in a very emotionally safe environment. So to answer the question, does sitting in a room talking about problems, is that necessarily more effective? Well, we have to take action. You've got to put into practice what the practitioners have shared and discussed in the sessions, and put those into actions as well.
Right. It's basically there being a guide for your life,
Yes.
right? Well, having said that, if one decides to distract themselves through an active lifestyle, and so how does that count as improving mental health when all you're doing is, it seems like some may argue that you're avoiding the problem.
Okay, so usually for exercise, as mentioned above, there's usually some physiological and cognitive benefits, so such as mental clarity, better focus. For hormonal aspect, you will release more feel-good hormones when you exercise. So some people might see as like you are just distracting yourself with the activities, but I would say that when you are exercising, when you are seeing progress, it also helps you build a bit more of your character. So you'll feel more confident, and then you have a bit more of the can-do mindset rather than you negatively affirm yourself all the time. So I think this will help a lot with your mental health struggles. Because it gives you the mental strength, mental fortitude to carry forward, to push yourself more.
Right. Well, one of the biggest problems of therapy is that if therapy was really the only way here, Yuyun, then why do so many people report frustration with their therapist or find that talking doesn't always translate into real world change? Is it because they're talking to the wrong therapist?
I'll come to that shortly, but I think as a therapist, my suggestion is actually to find out where that frustration might be coming from as well. Like, is that frustration coming from a reality that there's a limit to how much we can direct change in the system, in the external system? Or is it a frustration coming from ourselves that we still feel incompetent from initiating that change? And then where then does that incompetency come from, right? So I think, having been in therapy myself as part of self-development, I've come to the realization that ultimately we are still in charge. We are still in charge of the steps that we need to take to get to the change, to allow that change to unfold and to take place as well. So therapy is no miraculous is no miraculous pill that cures all our problems after one session, 1 or 2 sessions. It takes a lot of hard work and courage to work through and understand ourselves and our patterns, and actually to make the change that we want to see. And then back to the question, there are no two therapists who are the same. And it can simply be that your therapist is not the best fit for you.
Right.
And it's okay to talk about that in sessions with your therapist to figure out what might be the best thing for you.
I mean, I think some of the people around me who've been into therapy, and I think one of the things that they said was, you have to find the right therapist that fits you. It's like finding a partner in life as well. Well, on that note, in a society like Singapore, where the concept of taking care of one's mental health is still new, and so how can personal training programs claim to offer a more consistent and effective approach to improving mental health when most people wouldn't even attempt to try out therapy first?
Okay, so that's a good question. So I will say that it's equivalent of saying that calorie deficit is the only method for fat loss. Because for fat loss to happen, there's also other methods that we can use. So if we just rely on one method, it can be done, but I would say that the process is not efficient enough. So for therapy, it can be coupled with personal training to achieve the best result. Because for personal training, you also offers the patient a very safe place for them to exercise, to feel good about themselves, and also sometimes to talk about their problems. But when they go for therapy, it's more of a deeper problem, and they can understand themselves from a deeper understanding with the help of their therapists. So for personal training wise, I would say that it's more consistent because we are seeing the clients a bit more often. So usually for physical exercise, it's recommended that they will partake at least 2 to 3 times per week. So with that kind of schedule, they are a bit more consistent. So over time, they feel a bit better about themselves. So I think with therapy also, then they will have a better support system.
What do you think about the people who argue that, maybe exercise is kind of a temporary solution and it doesn't have a long-term psychological impact? Does exercising have a long-term psychological impact?
I do believe that exercise have more onset benefits than long-term. So usually when you exercise, that's when you feel good. But once you stop, you are still not going to feel good about yourself if you really develop those conditions in the first place. So I would say that for exercise itself, it's more about character development. Because when you exercise, when you develop and you get stronger, get better over time, you have more of a personal faith. So I would say that faith is more long-term than the benefit of exercise itself. So for the patients, when they have faith that they can be better, they can get better, so they are more open to other form of interventions, treatments like medication, therapies, even hospitalization.
Well, adding on to that, according to a journal from Harvard Medical School, exercise reduces stress hormones and stimulates production of endorphins, which together help foster relaxation. So, Yuyun, given the increasing concerns about relying too much on, antipsychotic medications, shouldn't physical activity be integrated into mental health strategies alongside or even instead of therapy in order to curb this worry?
So now medications do have a place in the field of mental health, and not all medications are antipsychotics. So there are also non-antipsychotics like antidepressants and anti-anxiety, etc. as well. So, and of course, there are conditions that may absolutely require medication to manage, and it's best to speak to a medically trained practitioner to explore that option. So, but going with your line of thought, we do need to recognize that therapy and physical activities do serve very different needs as well, and different roles in managing mental health. So while physical activities does improve mood and supports overall well-being, it doesn't provide the psychological tools necessary to actually help people to deal with their thoughts, their patterns, and their process, and to process their trauma or whatever that might be going through for themselves. And exercise in itself, I would see as a technique or tool, but not the standalone form of therapy. It can be used as part of a broader therapeutic approach to support mental and physical health, and exercise may support and help to regulate hormones, which is necessary when we work with clients too. But using exercise alone instead of therapy assumes that mental health challenges are purely behavioral conditions, and really oversimplifies mental health conditions.
I think we've got some great insights from both of you. Now, whilst the both of you have given your own takes on this topic, we can't disregard the fact that mental health is indeed important and key to living a healthy life. So to end off this discussion, I would like to pose this question to the both of you. What is the most important thing to keep in mind when we're looking at mental health, and why? Ansel, you want to start off?
Yeah, sure. So I would say that the most important points are getting a proper diagnosis first. So understanding about your conditions, so you will know what resources and tools are there available for you to seek help. So in that way, also I think that you need a strong support system as well. So I think don't be afraid to speak up to people you trust, to talk to them about problems, because when you communicate, sometimes they might not offer you much solutions, but they can be an active listener. So when they listen to you, you'll feel better as well.
And Yuyun?
I think we do need to remember that mental health is not static, so it fluctuates. And it's important to seek help when we realize that we are consistently stuck in the same rut and can't get out on our own. And I think seeking therapy isn't necessarily about always seeking a diagnosis as well. It can be as simply as saying that I need to speak to someone because I've been stuck in this, and that may not necessarily translate to having had a diagnosis. So that's something that we have to be very careful about, because sometimes for clients, they might worry about actually having a diagnosis, and that prevents them from actually accessing help as well. So in short, I think therapy and exercise are not binary choices. It's not either or. I think we do need integrated care. So a holistic approach that includes therapy, physical activities, good nutrition, and medication when necessary, I think is absolutely important. So we want to think it this way, that exercise supports the body, but therapy helps to heal the mind.
Some great insights from both of you today. Well, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you. We've been speaking to Yuyun Tan, who is the founder of Inside Out Counselling Wellness Practice, as well as fitness coach Ansel Feng. And before I end off the segment, if you're struggling with mental health issues, or you know someone who is struggling with mental health issues, please contact the SOS helpline via WhatsApp at 9151-1767. That's 9151-1767. They provide 24-hour care text, which is a text-based service that provides emotional support for those in distress. They also provide Care Mail, which is an alternative avenue of emotional support for those who prefer to write in via email, and you can do so by emailing pat@sos.org.sg. Tune in again next week for another Hot Seat. I've been your host, Hongbin Jeong.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.